I'm Kenneth, a relationship coach and a psychotherapist. Every relationship is different, and every breakup is different. Work with me, and you'll get professional help on your situation. Just click on the link in the description below, or go to my website, askcraig.net. Hi there, I'm Coach Kenneth, and in today's video I'm going to be talking to you about the past lives in the present. Well, one of the things that people don't often understand or think about is how much the past really comes into play in the present, internally, and in our relationships. So, one of the things that you'll see is that we tend to be affected by different things at different points in the year. And a lot of the time it has to do with some significant event that happened to you. For example, and this is really ironic that I'm doing this video today, because the email that I was doing today and working on this morning really kind of shook me when I realized, wow, I cannot believe this is happening. Let me explain. So, my mom passed away November 24th, 2013. That is today. And while I had thought about it several times over the week, I am going on vacation today for a few days. And so I was working on somebody's email, and you'll see how it played out, and it hit me. Wow, I thought about it yesterday, but it hadn't even occurred to me today. So 4 years ago today, I lost my mom. She had cancer. It was really rough. My son was not even 2 months old at the time. And I can tell you, when you have events that happen like that, it really does stay in your unconscious. And those events do affect you. Now, I've been really lucky to have Margaret, in my life all these years. So I've worked through a lot of these things with her every week. And she was there the entire time my mom was going through, her cancer and treatment and everything like that. So I was able to process and talk to her about that all along. Many of you guys have maybe not even thought about it, but when you're in a relationship with somebody, those things come up. That's why it really takes at least 2 years to get to know somebody. Because if they had a massive trauma, it will come up around that time of year, whether they are conscious of it or not. That anniversary always comes up. So, the past really lives in our unconscious, and the more that you deal with it and are aware of it, the healthier you're going to be. So, you'll see that it's quite ironic that today's video just happened to coincide with this email and with my mom's passing. So this email is from a woman that is in her early 30s, and she's dating a guy for about 5 years who was in his late 20s. And so she was telling me a little bit about the situation. And she started off by saying that he was very close to his mom. And you can guess where this is going. She said that she was his best friend, and his mother passed on October of a couple years ago. Early October of a couple years ago, okay? This is how crazy this is going to get. So, she said, the night before, we got into an argument about him coming home late and drunk. So, he's probably not aware of what's going on internally. He's feeling anxious. He's feeling these thoughts, but he's not really sure what's going on with him. So, he goes out and drinks. He doesn't go out often, but when he does, he gets drunk with his coworkers. The next day, I asked him if he ever thought about proposing and marriage. He said, no, not really. So, you can imagine that really affected her after 5 years of being with him, that now all of a sudden he's acting like he's never even thought about it. She said, my reaction wasn't the best. I was upset because 6 months back, I uprooted my entire life from another state to be with him for a new job he was offered. I know I overreacted, then calmed down and tried to smooth things over, but the more the month kept going on by, the worse it got. We've lived together for almost 2 years. Prior to this, we had a great relationship. During the month of September, which is when that happened one day, he would say he couldn't do this anymore. The next day, he would cry and say he didn't know what was wrong with him and how much he loved me. So look at that. He doesn't understand what's going on with him. He's crying all the time. And why? He doesn't know why. But I'm pretty sure I know what's going on there. It's that unresolved grief of mom passing away. He cried and cried and cried so much throughout the month, but in the end, the 25% won. Well, think about that. He's crying, he's grieving over and every day, crying, and that doesn't seem to be in any way correlated to what's going on with her, right? He's telling her, I don't have one bad memory of you, you're my best friend, I don't know what's going on with me. It's that unconscious grief that's going on that he's feeling and he's not dealing with. And it almost sounds like he's a little boy who lost his mother, right? If you think about it, that level of grief. I pleaded with him to please reconsider and not throw it all away. Finally, in early October, he said he was done and couldn't do this anymore. So, it was literally the day before his mother's passing. Think about that. He broke up with her the day before mom's passing. He didn't know how to handle himself. He doesn't know what's going on with him. And that relationship, I don't know what was going on there. Obviously, I'm only, getting a little bit of it. But it's clear to me that this is about that unresolved grief. I packed my things in a matter of 3 days. I had moved back to Florida. He didn't show up the night prior to me leaving, and he texted me the following morning that it was too hard for him to say goodbye. Who else is it too hard for him to say goodbye to? That he couldn't handle it, and that he wasn't doing well. See, this really doesn't have anything to do with her. This is all about losing mom. And if you've never lost a parent, I could tell you, it just changes you on a level that you could not possibly expect. And there's no words to explain it other than it just feels like this heavy loss. And it never goes away. And when your mom or dad's birthday comes up, it brings it up. Or the anniversary of their passing brings it up. A lot of things will bring it up. Special events could bring it up. But it's just very heavy on you. And if you're not dealing with it, it's going to come out like this. He called a friend we have in common, telling her he didn't say bye to me and was sobbing to her. See? He's sobbing like a little boy who lost his mom. That's why he's grieving like this. 2 days later, he texted about a pending vacation we had coming up and how he would get a refund. I haven't heard from him in about a month and a half. I don't text, email, or call. I also don't have social media, and he's unfollowed my family members from him. He can't even think about you. He's hurting so badly. There were never any problems he really mentioned, except for feeling awful that he didn't know about marriage, and I also think the fact that I didn't like him coming home drunk. He never mentioned it to me, but I sensed it. Yeah, that was only a small issue, really. Will he try to rekindle things again? Alright, well, I do think he's going to try and rekindle things again. I think he's going through a lot of personal, intense pain here, and he isn't really dealing with it. And, there are a lot of symptoms to an anniversary like this, like an anniversary death. And it can be very, very painful. It's like a trauma, right? It's like PTSD, but with attachment and abandonment. And so there are a lot of different things that you could have in these situations. intrusion of thoughts and emotions you feel like you have no control over. Avoidance. You tend to try to ignore it, not think about it, and just sweep it under the rug. You've got mood instability where you're just up and down and you don't know why. And you could have like reactivity, like certain things you're just reacting and you have no idea what's going on with you. The intrusion is really painful because like thoughts come up, like you could have some kind of assault that's happened to you. These are the kinds of things that can happen in an anniversary, you know what I mean? Like maybe your father walked out of your family on a certain day. Maybe they even did it on a day like Christmas or something like that. That happens. Or holidays where somebody abandoned you or something like that. You have these upsetting memories, and you know sometimes people try to avoid it and not think about it. Think about those places or people or things, and they don't want to deal with it. Their mood can be like this overwhelming amount of sadness and grief, and they could have a real hard time wanting to connect with their friends or their family. They want to isolate themselves. You know, in the case where maybe if somebody was assaulted, they might have a sense of guilt or shame that it wasn't, you know, that it was their fault, even though obviously it wasn't. They could have this kind of reactivity where they can't sleep. They become really irritable or jumpy. They're on guard all the time. There are a lot of different things, you know, anxiety. You're going to have a lot of symptoms of anxiety, panicking. You might have a specific thing that you're afraid of. You might have, like, irrational worries that you're thinking about specific things. You could worry about your relationships and feel like somebody's going to abandon you. Of course, you could have physical symptoms like headaches, migraines, upset stomach, you know, bowel movements, you know what I'm saying? You can have a lot of things that occur in your body. And so there's a lot of different things that can occur because of trauma and something that happened to you in the past. And it's important that you're aware of it, because we've got a situation here where these two people were obviously very close, good friends, they loved each other, but he couldn't handle all of the other stuff going on internally, and so it literally like sabotaged and destroyed what they had. Now, do I think he's going to come back again? I do. But it depends upon how much he works on himself and how he really deals with this grief and talks through it. And I do think he'll come around again, and he'll probably feel very remorseful. And I think the important thing is to kind of like both lay your cards on the table and deal with this, and you know, just give him some patience and understanding, because you don't know what it's like to lose a parent unless you've lost them. And it's just like losing anybody else. Maybe the death of a child would be worse, but other than that, losing a parent is incredibly, incredibly difficult. Even if you didn't have a good relationship with them, even if you never met them, it could really affect you. A lot of anger or resentment or hurt, a lot of stuff going on there. So, it's important to understand that yes, our past does kind of live in our unconscious, and you have to be aware of it and deal with it like an adult. If you don't, you're going to have tons of symptoms coming out, and they're going to overtake you, and you're going to feel overwhelmed. So, that's it for this video. I'm Coach Craig Kenneth. If you want to get my help personally, just go to my website, askcraig.net, sign up for the option that works best for you. I do email coaching and I do Skype coaching. And if you got to get with me right away, I do offer emergency Skype coaching. But I will talk with you soon.